Good evening, everybody. We're here with the gathering bottles for 2023. It's Ben and I and a special guest we'll introduce here coming up. We have 3 bottles we're going to go through tonight. I've previewed these. I've tasted them. Excellent bottles. Again, great job for our gathering picks. Ben, what do you have to say?
Well, start of the gathering. As you can tell, the blue background, which is, I think, the theme. No, but for everybody, kind of could be a fun week ahead of us. This is an annual celebration we started 3-4 years ago. I think time's flying by. And it would just be fun to create an excuse for people to get together. Started off in Edinburgh, where all things started, with a big physical, a literal gathering of members to our spiritual home at the Vaults. And then it sort of blossomed to an international party, I would say. And of course, what do we do here, Scott, so well? We pick some damn good whiskeys and release them for our members. So
absolutely,
as Scott just mentioned, 3 drop in tomorrow exclusively for the USA, which is always exciting. And I'd say probably I'm just looking at these on paper. I haven't tried these yet. Probably some of the bolder whiskeys we've seen in a long time.
Yeah. And 3 great flavor profiles. Of course, we'll get into those. I would say, though, like, if you remember last year, we had a big gathering in New York. We were all there, did the gathering. This year, a little bit different. Pip Hills is in the United States. Going around, they've got a couple of the tasting. I think Washington, D.C. tonight or tomorrow? Tomorrow night. Yeah, Jack Rose. So Los Angeles next, I think, after that.
Mm-hmm.
But so a little bit different platform for the gathering this year.
Yeah. Obviously, this is may have heard us. We've only talked about it, 1,000 times, but it's a pretty big deal. It's our 40th anniversary this year, and man, for what started as a small group of friends in Edinburgh 40 years ago, is now the largest whiskey club with about 38,000 members. I think last time I checked earlier this year, around the world, 20 different countries or more now. Anyway, it's quite. I think the achievement, obviously, if you're watching this, good chance you remember. If you're not, we invite you to join us. But point is, we owe this to our members. So we've come a long way. I'm pretty pumped for tonight. We got a special guest, as Scott mentioned, and we should probably just bring him on.
Well, yeah. So earlier this year, though, or towards the end of last year, we had a contest, I guess you could say, for anyone to enter, which featured a trip to Scotland. Over there to Edinburgh and to the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. And that person that won got to help pick out casks for this right here. And these are U.S. exclusive casks. I don't know if we mentioned that as well. That person, though, last year is here with us tonight. And we'll bring him on. Are we ready?
Dramatic entrance.
Andrew Bisom.
Andrew Bisom, welcome. We talked about making a dramatic entrance for Andrew, but it's just a click of a button. But Andrew, welcome officially to the behind the scenes of. Actually, we talked about this. You've already been behind the scenes. You've done the good work of choosing some whiskeys. So, how are you today?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Eager to taste some whiskey.
Yeah. Well. So. Just so everyone knows how this is going down, and just elaborate on what Scott was saying earlier, Andrew, you did in fact choose these whiskeys. What was that? Well, maybe just, if you don't mind, we'll take just a minute. Tell us the whole story, because I think what you did, I think you're probably you're either the most envied member, I think, out there in the U.S. right now, or you're about to be the most popular, depending on how these whiskeys are tasting tonight.
Or the most hated, but
well, I didn't want to say that, but yeah. But tell us the deal. What was it like going over there, and a little bit about your experience?
It was a fantastic experience. My wife and I went. It was the trip was for 3 days, but we turned it into 2.5 weeks, and so toured throughout Scotland. But probably the high point was the contest portion, because my wife Diane and I actually stayed at the Vaults for one night, and then the society put us up at the Intercontinental in Edinburgh. They wined and dined us and treated us to some amazing whiskey and Pip's stories.
Nice. Yeah. So he's probably got a lot. What was it like meeting him? And
Oh, he is. It was interesting. My wife pointed this out. He would start on a long story, and we'd be sitting there wondering, where is this going? And does he even know where it's going? And then somehow he would just bring it all together. He is quite the storyteller, and I'm looking forward. They're going to be doing the official tasting on the West Coast up in San Francisco, and Diane and I are going to be going up there and meeting Pip again and Tom.
Yeah. Oh, so you'll be up there on Thursday, right? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So everybody, Pip, our founder, the good sir Pip Hills, is in the U.S. I think he officially touched ground on Saturday, and yeah, tomorrow he'll be in D.C. I think it's his first. It must be his first time in the U.S. a decade or two at least. He's been very excited to get over here. This was something we were planning before the pandemic, actually for 2020. I think, all right, maybe even earlier. Then there were some health issues that delayed it, and then the pandemic, and we were really devastated because we weren't sure, so we're really excited to have him here. Tomorrow he'll be in DC meeting with members at the tasting event, and glad to hear. And again, pretty envious you'll be up in San Francisco on Thursday for the second one. Of course, we'd all love to get to meet Pip. We have members all over the U.S., but here we are in his stead, Andrew. You have to provide the entertainment and storytelling for tonight. No pressure.
Yeah.
I want to know though, real quick, Andrew. Just let me ask you. So you'd entered the contest, and then you get the call or the email that says you won. What did you do?
Well, it was a few days before Christmas, and I received a call from Tom Smith, and he asked me. He called you just to make. He didn't say why he was calling. He said, "I just wanted to make sure that you're going to be available February 13th through the 15th." And I just assumed he was talking about maybe some kind of special tasting up in Los Angeles. And I said, "Yeah, I don't have anything planned." He goes, "Great, because you won a trip to Scotland." And I go, "What?" And the funny part, at that point, I did not recall entering a contest. I mean, so I'm just thinking, my first thought is this on the level? And I'll just play along. And there was some follow-up, and I still wasn't sure if this was real. And then he sent me an email saying that he needed my passport number so he could purchase the airline tickets. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, now I better confirm that this is for real. And what I did, I called the society up, hoping I would get like you or Ben or somebody else, and ask it, and confirm it. Is this Tom Smith? Is he really affiliated with the society? And instead, Tom answers the phone. And so I had to come up with some kind of cover as to, why I was calling, and but I recognized the voice and was able to confirm it was him.
Well, he's got an exotic name, so I understand. Yeah, it's suspicious, that Tom Smith. Well, let's do this. I want to kind of selfishly. I got the driest palate right now. I've been looking at these bottles. Can we kind of? I want to come back to more about your experience, but maybe just to jump ahead, Andrew, you chose these 3 casks, right? And I think we'll bring them out one at a time. But maybe just a thought. Just interested. What was that experience like, choosing them, and what was the approach, and from a what was the selection? How did that go down, and what was the experience?
Well, it was did the tasting at the vaults, and I was one of 13 winners. I was the only one from the U.S. But we had 12 other countries represented: Japan, China, Canada, Austria, Germany, all of Sweden. And I felt a little bad for some of the other countries, because what they would do is, first the first day it was over several days, and the first day was kind of just explaining how to use our senses, teaching us how to use our senses, coming up with different tasting notes, and using the sensory wheel that's a society uses at their tastings. And then the second day, they actually gave us the bottles. And with, I think, virtually every other country, they would give them 2 samples and they were selecting 1 bottle. But the US, because the market is so large, we had 5 samples of cask strength whiskey to select 3 bottles. But then that wasn't just the extent of it, because if a country didn't select one of the bottles, they would put it on the bar, and anybody was free, could go and choose another bottle from the bar. So yeah, I had 5 to choose 3, but I could have actually I tasted 6 or 7 to choose 3, because I took some of the other ones that weren't selected. And yeah, I wasn't driving that day.
Yeah, well, it was funny. I was saying earlier, just looking on paper, these are 3 real big, bold flavors.
Mm-hmm.
And was that a maybe we should just jump in the first one, but I'm curious, like, what drove your decision making process? Or was it just pure, hey, that's, in my opinion, the best one? Or did you intend to come up with, because as Scott alluded to, they're very different. Were you looking for variety, or were you?
Well, both. I mean, I think these 3 stood out. I mean, they were all excellent, but these 3 really stood out. I certainly knew I wanted to have, something from Isla. That was going to be a given, whether it was going to be this one or one of the others. But the other 2, stood out. It was, from the others that we tasted. It was pretty much unanimous, because my wife was tasting along with me, and we both selected the same 3.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, let's roll it with it, because I'm like getting as thirsty as I possibly could. Scott, where do you want to go? Which order here?
I'm right here. That dark blue label that so many people like. That oily and coastal.
Okay.
And again, the kind of the special artsy labels here, but a little bit different. Not the usual. We've got a silhouette of a person, 3 bottles, 3 different modelings, I guess you would say. You'll notice, but this is an 8-year-old, 93.202, 60.5% ABV. Our cask type. First fill barrel on this one. And to get you the color, a paler golden, or just a yellowish pale, what you'd really expect from an 8-year first fill ex-bourbon barrel cask here. Mine has been poured. Mine was opened.
Oh. The label is kind of cool, because as you showed, yours focus is better. Mine's on the eye tracker, but it's got this sort of wood grain texture, not texture, but design, really subtle. And then, Andrew, that's your profile, right? That's your.
It is.
There you go. But yeah, you can see that with the camera now. You kind of have this cool wood layering.
And that's your profile, Andrew?
It is.
Oh, awesome.
And my signature.
Ah, all right. There you go.
These are cool. So they're all 3. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm looking. This is the Coastal Cruising.
We should have like a movie special effect where you can't see Andrew's face, and he's that silhouette.
Yeah.
The whole video.
If we were only that thoughtful. So let's give this one a go. Andrew, any I guess the thoughts. This is obviously Campbellton whiskey. Oiling Coastal has become I think the favorite flavor profile of members, partly because we just see so few casks. I think that I mean, one, I think they're great whiskeys, but it's become really, really rare. And I think anytime we have one, it's usually snatched up quickly. But is this is this your preferred style if you had to pick one, or is this...
It really is.
Okay.
I really enjoy the the Campbelltown styles. They're bold, some maybe a lightly, some peat, sometimes, oftentimes you'll have some peat, but not overpowering, still able to taste the distillate and appreciate the distillate.
Yeah.
And with a younger whiskey like this, 8 years, also it gives it an interesting flavor as opposed to, say, something that's 12 or 14 years.
Well, I'll tell you what, this one, 8 years old, first fill bourbon barrel. I'm picking up a lot of the bourbon barrel characteristics. Very, very sort of creamy vanilla, a little bit of citrus peel, like a burnt citrus peel. More so, not, I don't want to say more so, but like the first impression, I'm not getting the sort of sea spray industrial funkiness right away. It's a very sort of warming sort of aroma.
What I put, and I pulled out my tasting notes from when we chose it, when we selected it. I have spicy and rich, a gift of flower and cloves, wafting on a light ocean breeze, hidden notes of library books. My wife's a librarian or retired librarian, and sweet vanilla. Mellow your dram with a few drops of water and discover more straw, less clove. Enjoy overlooking an ocean vista following a scenic drive down Highway 1.
Okay. Highway 1, shout out for all our California members. Yeah. And I don't know if he said this, Andrew, you live in Orange County. So right. This is an early dram for you. What is it? It's 5 o'clock. Scott, what do you think?
Nose, I got a peppery lemon pledge just right off the bat.
Wait, lemon pledge, like the clean notes?
The furniture polish.
Yeah. I think the deeper I go, there's what is it, 60.5%. So really, really strong. I don't doubt that, as you mentioned, you're tasting it. When you add some water, this is going to change a lot. But right away, that clove, what was it that they said something about clove? Something clove?
I said
spice.
Well, yeah, spicy and rich, a gift of flower and cloves, wafting on a light ocean breeze. And then mellow your dram with a few drops of water and discover more straw, less clove.
Yeah.
I like the ocean breeze here. It's definitely maritime-ish, a little salty sea air. Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Rich. Yeah. Cheers.
It's 8 years, but it doesn't taste like a young whiskey. It's very good. Like I said, these three really stood out to both Diane and I.
Ooh. Very complex, but also really, really strong.
Yeah.
So in maybe the youth, I think is detectable just from that pure strength, but you could just tell how many, there's multiple layers of flavor. And I do agree, I made that comment earlier that I think it's warmer and more cask driven. The coastal nature of the spirit really comes out on the palate.
This tastes like it was bottled or aged in a clay pot. Really kind of earthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. I don't know if I've ever got like clay pot before, but citrusy, lemony, malty, peppery, a lot of pepper, almost. Definitely not spicy and sweet flavor profile. Not much sweetness here outside of some of the citrus, but just heavy, thick, viscous, waxy, oily.
Yeah, really, big, bold character too. There's a lot going on. The clay pot reference is really interesting. Like I wouldn't have thought of that, but there is an earthiness that is undeniable.
And tasting it now, 6 months later, I think it just confirmed my selection. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, that's good, because if it were the opposite, that'd be really awkward. You got your silhouette and your name on the bottle, and
well, if that was the case, I'd just say that this was the one my wife selected.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Everybody, go credit Andrew's wife. She has great taste because, I think that the pledge that there's a citrus oil thing going on for me. It has become more earthy. I added some water.
We'll need to do that.
Yeah. I remember going to this distillery in Campbelltown a few years ago and doing a tasting in the warehouse, and they make three different styles of spirit, unpeated and lightly peated, and sort of a medium or heavily peated. And they're aging their whiskey in all different types of casks. But I thought the one that really stood out to me, the style was the unpeated in a first fill bourbon barrel, which is exactly what this is.
Right.
I thought that was the most unique of the region, which is a small region, only 3 distilleries now. But I just think there's nothing like it in Scotch whiskey today. This exact style. Maybe on Isla you have Bunnahabhain. They kind of do an unpeated or ultra light peated.
Right.
So maybe a similar to that. And if we bottle some of theirs, which we do, it would probably be in this profile. But beyond that, I can't think of others like it.
Scuba Summer is asking, was this the Neil Patrick Harris thing? What was he like? No, this was not. That was separate. So this is a whole different thing here that we did
last year. The Gathering Cast last year, Neil, he named those actually, and then the ones we just released this year. Funny because we just released one that Neil chose similar to this in '93 last month.
Yeah, well, you had he got to name those from last year, but then in between then and now, you went to Scotland with him.
We went last year, yeah.
No, was that last year?
We went last June, and then last September for the Gathering we released. It was like you get everybody. You guys can appreciate the time, Andrew, and you were over there. Actually, we kind of expedited the process for you, but the time of sampling casks from the warehouse, choosing them, writing the tasting notes, bottling the casks, getting all the artwork, bringing them over. It often takes about a year to year and a half. So the fact that you just went in February, that was a really quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was a staggering thing. A couple of years ago, Neil came on the channel. We did the select process of tasting and naming, released those last year. Anyway, Neil's got his hands on a lot of it, but he loves the Oiling Coastal. So anyway.
Yeah, water though with this one, it's kind of, I'm not getting any notes that I wasn't getting. It's definitely kind of opening everything up though.
Right.
Kind of starting to expand here. I do like the clove. I was going to just mention that earlier. It's kind of like that old gum that was had like the black circle. Yeah. And I forget what it was called, but it was kind of like a
clove gum.
Is it just clove gum?
I think it's clove gum.
Right. Yeah. Rich, still great. And this does not. Blind, I would never think this was 8 years old. I mean, this tastes like a 12 or a 13-year-old.
Right.
It has the palate, the mouthfeel, the oak tannins, the influence from that barrel. It's gorgeous. Better put a second round of water on it.
What was the note, Andrew, about the cruising on Highway 1? What was that line? I'm trying to put myself in your shoes of
Sure. Enjoy overlooking an ocean vista following a scenic drive down Highway 1.
Yeah, that is like one of the ultimate drives in America.
Scuba Summer says you can still buy clove gum at Cracker Barrel.
Hey, fun fact, my next door neighbor is the founder of Cracker Barrel, which I found out. Actually, I don't even know that she's alive anymore, but her son lives there.
So you have an info on clove gum?
Yeah, she just texted me and said, "Hey, I got all the clove you want. Tell Scooby Summer to come over and hit me up. I got it up in the attic. No one's touched it in 30 years, but yeah, it's there.
Yeah, get all the biscuits and gravy, all those waffles.
Anyway, that's my real claim to fame in life. I got a neighbor who's mother, I think, is our Cracker Barrel. Yeah. All right. What more to say about this one? Any other thoughts, Andrew?
Not really, but it is like I said, it confirmed my selection. I'm glad I chose this one.
Well, we've got two more, and if anyone's wondering, so of the three whiskeys, all these are available to order tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern individually, or we'll also have a bundle with all three of them. And you probably saw the emails or the post on social. We're doing a promo right now all month for the Gathering. If you order 3 bottles or more, you get a free shipping. So it's a nice little bundle pickup. Also, shameless plug, not to make this a QVC kind of thing going on here, but if you gift a membership to somebody this month, you get $100 gathering token, which is effectively a store credit to use towards any bottle. Or if you're not a member watching this, you want to join, if you order a membership for yourself, $100 towards any bottle, which is pretty good. I mean, it's like the cost of a membership. So we don't do that often. We did that for the festivals this year in May and the gathering, and that's it. So take advantage if you want. That's all I got for housekeeping. Where are we going to next, Scott?
It's one of my favorite labels. Hold on a second. We had a question that came in real quick on how did this compare to Changes Faster Than a Chameleon from Ryan Staples. And I just poured, it was sitting right behind me. Changes Faster Than a Chameleon. Changes Faster Than a Chameleon, much smoother, lighter, sweeter. The new one here, Coastal Cruising, is much richer, thicker, heavier on the palate, a lot more punch to it. So had to do that real quick. Next up, we're going to.
You can find it.
What's that? Oh,
you can find a random.
I remembered Oily and Coastal, so I turned around looking for that dark blue, top, and sitting right there. So yeah. Sometimes,
believe it or not, we do actually are paid to do this. So, but nonetheless, we are professionals. So
all right, yeah, going to Speyside next. MacDuff or 6.71.
This Speyside or Highland?
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, is it Highland?
Yes.
Well, we have here that it's originally actually. Now, I would say this. So we have it in our own registry listed as a Speyside.
Oh, okay.
From the Devon region, we go super specific with the river and the Speyside. But I have noticed actually recently we've had to make some changes because some distilleries that were considered Speyside, or one in particular, is now a Highland distillery. So that seems to be for one reason or another evolving. Although I want to say that the lines were drawn, current lines were what, 15 years ago, maybe no more. So Speyside's in the Highlands, so let's put it that way.
Okay.
I mean, it was once the case; it was just Highland, but now it's a sub-region.
So a 14-year-old here, double maturation, ex-bourbon hogsheads, and then first fill ex-Spanish oak Oloroso butt, 54.5%. Twin notes of a family favorite. And
this one I have a confession on. As far as the title, we tried to come up with something that would that was kind of personal for us. And my son and his wife, just a couple of months before the tasting, we became grandparents of twins.
No way! Congratulations!
Favorite. So that's in honor of Paul and Claire.
Oh, that's really cool. So that was in. So they're how old now?
They were born December 8th, and at that point they were only 3 months old.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
That's amazing. Twin notes of a family favorite. Wow, got the chills.
And this one was my favorite of the three, and I haven't tasted it since February, but I really like this.
I have to tell you, I just poured this. First impression. This is deep, rich, and dry. This is definitely you get the Oloroso sherry cask immediately, right. But I think it's I didn't get any sulfur or anything. It's just really pure aromatics from the fruits and the wood. Very, very spicy right off the bat.
I think there's maybe a tad bit of sulfur may come up, but the first thing I got
later.
Yeah. Huh?
We can fight over that later.
Yeah, there's definitely I got it as the first time I've got this, but it was like a burnt candle wick. Like when you put out a candle and that wick just kind of filters up that really fine smoke.
Yeah.
that I got with it.
Yeah, I mean, for tasting it, I mean, we have smooth caramels, molasses, toffee covered in dark chocolate
Mm-hmm. Oh,
with
yeah.
a soft, crunchy sweetness.
Yeah.
A serving of rum pudding under strawberry trifle, surrounded by, I can't rank it, and soothing pepper smoke, burnt oranges, old leather chair, water not required, but caramels and truth notes are changed. Fruit notes are changed.
Hmm.
But yeah, you know, sometimes I'm a little leery of Oloroso cask because it becomes so sweet that sometimes I think they overpower the distillate. This one I think just really complements it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on. I mean, there's different levels of that Oloroso influence, and whereas some people like that really exclusive maturation, heavy Oloroso, think that sherry bomb type note, and some people just like that more that subtle influence. Yeah. But this one's definitely medium influence. I think almost leaning towards heavy Oloroso influence, but dry, just to me drier and spicier,
not overpowering.
Right. It's not near as sweet on the nose.
I think it's probably the most attractive aroma I've picked up on a whiskey in a long time. Not since festivals have I think knows something that smells this sort of has this sort of depth and evocation. Like that's really impressive. You are the Sherry Bruno. This type of whiskey better than anyone, I would say. But I find this to be really, really heavy cask driven aroma, at least. But and I'm usually not one like for that. But I can't really complain about this one because I think that everything is in balance and nothing is really out of place or funky. On a style of whiskey where funkiness is not always the best. I think maybe more on like coastal whiskeys, but man, really, really special.
I think blind. I could confuse this with an exclusive maturation.
Yeah,
full term.
Full term.
Yeah,
Oloroso, and it comes through in the color as well. Really dark, really rich.
But maybe if you'd had it full term and like Spanish oak, it would be spicier, and that spiciness and woodiness would really, I think, would take away from what's here right now, which is a really, really well balanced whiskey.
Yeah, I like all of the chocolate notes, the toffee notes that Andrew was mentioning. I still get a little bit of smoke here, a little bit of that candle wick, almost. Someone mentioned like a burnt match, sulfur. No, whiskey Franco, the old struck match sulfur note. Yeah, not necessarily so much sulfur, just more of that kind of burning kind of wick or that burning wood even, but all those gorgeous Oloroso notes that we expect. The plums, the raisins.
Right.
Yep. Ooh, rich. A little bit of cherry, dark cherry, spicy, your nutmegs, your cinnamons, your oak. Beautiful. Put a drop of water on it.
Yeah.
And really at 54, is it 54.5%? Yeah. Really approachable meat.
Right.
If those higher ABVs don't appeal to you, this one, gorgeous. 14 years old, 54.5.
It's like Are you listening for the sounds of the whiskey? I wasn't. I thought you were late. You got a little butter popcorn note. Nose. Is that just me? Smell that thing right now. Is that just me? No.
And that's just you. No.
It's like a deep violet.
In baking, they're just saying it's brown butter. Basically, you put your butter in your pan, you melt it, and it heats up and it turns brown. Yeah, it's almost a brown butter in here.
I agree. Yeah.
Brown sugars, almost. I've made this dessert bar before with light brown sugar and butter in it, and it just everything melts together and forms what's in this glass. Really, are part of it.
Scott has become a master baker, and Every time I always forget that, except for like we'll be on a stream like this and we'll be tasting a deep, rich and dry a sherry cask whiskey, and then he'll start talking about like this, thing he baked. Like, damn, I'm so hungry, and that would be amazing. This is a dessert whiskey.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
I was just you took the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Yeah.
So this was you said your favorite of the three.
My favorite of the three.
And I mean, this is obviously a huge stark contrast between the last one we had. And you
Right.
mentioned that the oiling coastal, or that style of whiskey, is maybe your favorite, but this was your favorite of the three. So are you fair to say that you just like it all? Is that?
Well, I just like them. Well, yeah, I like them all, but I mean, this was to me. I mean, if someone were, if you were to, if I was to order whiskey just based upon region or style, I'd say oiling coastal. All right, but tasting this whiskey, I mean, it's just such a unique. For me, it's just it's very unique. It's been a long time since I've tasted anything quite with these notes. Like I said before, a lot of times when a whiskey is finished in an oloroso, I feel like the oloroso kind of overpowers the distillate. But no, this one complements it. They played well together.
I got 2 rounds of water on mine here, so I'm going to try it with that.
I think this is we got a lot of whiskeys behind us, but I think this is the whiskey when I want to introduce somebody to say, what is a great example of a sherry matured whiskey? I think I'll pick this one because it's got all the things. I think it is really well balanced. It's absent are those like overly tannic notes that you would get on something that if it was full term Spanish oak. I like that. Really, really easy to sip. I mean, even at cast strength, now that we were warmed up with that first one, like pretty easy to sip neat.
Two rounds of water has, I'm not going to say it's killed it, but it's definitely took down a lot of the bite, just the depth of it here. It was really good neat. It was really good with 1 round of water, but I'd stop there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Like what you said before, Ben, this is a dessert scotch.
Yeah. I mean, you can pour this over ice cream even. We're talking,
Diane put that on her tasting notes. A dram to drink and a drizzle over coffee ice cream.
Oh man, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know if other people do this, but occasionally I like drinking sherry a lot, and not as often anymore. But I take PX sherry and drizzle it over vanilla ice cream. Like that's a really good dessert. No one does that. I don't take credit for that, but I mean, I started doing that at the recommendation of a friend. This is like so thick and viscous that it would probably hold up.
Yeah.
As well. So
a few comments coming in about well read 100.40. I want to say from first of the month outturn, but this was a little bit darker. Well read, had a very nice red tint to it. But what's people in the comments? What's your thoughts on those that have well read, which I loved. I thought that was a great whiskey.
Yeah. Well said. I will say that before we move on to the next one, I love that you made this one personal, and even if you hadn't shared it, there would be people out in the world, tomorrow ordering this bottle, taking it home, enjoying it by Friday, and not know that, Yeah. I think that's kind of cool. I mean, I'm glad you shared that with us, that we know it, but it makes you kind of think of all the tasting notes of every single bottle. How many people are just that's not an inside joke, but it's an inside, I think, decision, which I think I love, and I'm looking at all the other ones now. I'm like, the next one with the alphabet soup here.
I would say with this one real quick, we've had, I would say maybe the majority of our deep, rich and dried fruit whiskeys are kind of that maturation, that secondary maturation where it's a short term in a sherry oloroso or Pedro Jimenez cask. This one really comes off much heavier, much more influence. It's much thicker, viscous, and if this was presented to me, I think as an exclusive maturation for 14 years, I might believe it. It's pretty close. Yeah.
I don't recall ever having a scotch just quite like this one. I mean, I probably don't have the experience that you two have, but this is kind of a unicorn to me.
I think, between all of us, like we've tasted a lot of whiskeys.
Yeah.
The first one we had, the 93.202, I would say, of all the 93s of that sort of age, that was really different in that like the flavors were unique. With this one, I think the unicorn status comes from the fact that every box is checked on what you would want. You know what I mean? And I find that this is just not a fact. This is my personal opinion. This is maybe it's for me like satisfying, like every box checked. Yep, that's what I want. And it would be hard to look elsewhere. That's a bold statement to make, but does that make sense? So it's like there's a familiarity to it, but everything together has created this such a well-balanced cask. It's funny because it's so sherry forward and cask driven, yet you can get the spirit like beneath it, the fruitiness of the spirit. Man,
I've got to grab a drink of water. I'm going to cleanse my palate here a little bit before the next one, so I'll be right back.
Okay. And by water, you mean that Mick Ultra and a koozie? Because we know.
No.
Guys, we're not sponsored by Mix. We have no affiliation. We're just we are independent whiskey enthusiasts here. Andrew. Okay, 2 for 2. Just as a reminder, Brad Woods here. I'm going to check the chat real quick. Sorry, we're picking this up. Brad Woods says, got drawn for 36,198. There you go. What should I get to go with it? Got to get that free shipping. That is true. I mentioned earlier that if you order 3 bottles or more in an order, you get free shipping. So we're doing 3 tonight. So far, two heavy hitters, I think, in the oiling coastal and deep rich and dried fruits. And I think the third one is right up there as well. So stick around, Brad, for a few more minutes, and we'll have an answer. Shout out to Andrew Hamaker, who's back tonight with us. Cigar whiskey.
Definitely. Yes.
You said that with such conviction.
Yeah. I don't pretend to be an expert on cigars, but I would say a more mild cigar, like a medium cigar, rather than a real bold one, because I think the two would clash. This is a bold
clash. Yeah.
I think this is a bold whiskey, and more, maybe a medium cigar would be perfect with this.
Yeah. Thinking like a Monty 2, like this is I don't know, the ordinary, the extraordinary, but yeah, that's we can do a whole other session about this, talking about pairings. But you're right, because a lot of times people talk with cigars are like, man, I got an Isla, I want to pair like a Nicaraguan tobacco or something really bold. And you're right that the two they just overpower each other in class.
Right, but if you did a like a mild to a medium cigar, it would really complement the notes from this whiskey.
Yeah, and then we eat Scott's baked goods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So are we ready for the green label? 53.454. And this is a mouthful on the title. And let's see if we can get in here. There we go. Friends and a fall bonfire on a Pacific beach. Nice tie-in to the West Coast beach there, Andrew. Peated Isla, 11 years old, first fill hogshead, 58.5% ABV. So
I like how on each label, Andrew, it's your profile, but they're all slightly different. Like
you're
doing different poses.
Yeah.
Salty, peanutty, sea air. This is right on the boardwalk. Walking by it, I was gonna say a Nathan's hot dog stand and somebody roasting peanuts.
Yeah, for the bottle notes, I have down. Excuse me. When it's when it's smoking, it's toasting. When it's burnt, it's done. A lovely intro into a peated whiskey.
Yeah.
Yep. Is this the first fill hogshead or something? What is this cask?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Shit.
This one you really do get the kind of like the sea
I don't know, man. This is like really special. I just know.
You're saying I did good?
Oh man, we're all so spoiled here. Yeah, we're. This is not going to last forever. Islay whiskey is becoming so popular, but these 53s, 10 to 10, 11 years, we see these on paper. We see Casks. It's the largest distiller on Islay, so we see a lot. And I think it's so easy sometimes to take that for granted. I haven't noticed one like this before. This is like everything that I've dreamt of.
Yeah.
I'm showing the color a little bit darker than the oily and coastal that we started with, but really about what you expect. 11 years ex hogshead here, so some nice cask influence.
But this is I think I know the difference on this. Is a first fill hogshead. Usually we'll see a refill, so you'll have really sort of spirit forward, coastal, medicinal, maritime spirit, which I love, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that it's a first fill hogshead, which is the medium sized cask, let's say, but not a barrel. So it's, man, the recipe, think about that on paper. It's like a fresh cask, but it's a little bigger. So it's not, if it were smaller, you'd have more cask influence. But this seems to be like the sweet spot. I haven't even tasted the whiskey. I'm just noticing it.
Yeah.
But I haven't been this excited about a whiskey in a long time. Okay. So.
Yeah, and just mentioning just Distillery 53, we just get so many great, phenomenal casks, out of there. And they're just, this is another one. Slight spicy, peppery notes, but salty, maritime, that boardwalk, cotton candy, peanut, and Nathan's hot dogs mixture.
What we wrote was water on a campfire flare up, burnt s'mores, sweet and sour, smoke and rosemary engine oil, a drop or two of water, and smoke and engine oil increases while band-aids decrease. Neat or reduced to smoky smoothness. Features notes of driftwood, cypress, pine trees, and a distant campfire.
That's like the best 53 I've had in a long time, including the festival. I know people are going to go crazy when I hear me say that. For me, selfishly, that's like everything I would want out of an Islay whiskey. You can taste the peated malt. Like it's got these cereal notes. Like on the finish too. This whole premise of the society is the idea of that you can taste whiskey just as if it were out of a cask in a warehouse. And I think this one is really transports you to that cold, damp Islay warehouse. Like you just feel like, I don't know, it brings me back to being on a working distillery where the people are getting shit done, and I think it's cold and you're sampling things on the go, and you have to warm it up in your glass. Man, this is probably for me. This is everything I would want out of an Islay whiskey. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I think that hogshead is bringing definitely it's more of a toasted, rich, darker kind of citrus note to it, or honeyed more note to it. You take some of these Distillery 53s from an ex-bourbon barrel, and they're lighter and citrusy and peaty. This one's definitely not like lighter citrusy. It's more toasted honeys, and honeycomb, malty, oaky, peaty, earthy, all those, roasted peanuts and cotton candy. Nathan's hot dogs again. It's just savory, beach fire. Your meat fell in that campfire, on the beach.
5-second rule.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah.
What are you do? You're still gonna reach in with your hand. Scott, your stories have gotten so complex and detailed. I'm just a passenger here. Meatballs, your grandma's sick, you're late for work.
Yeah, you know how it is.
You forgot to pay your mortgage, and then you wake up, and then you got a call from an old friend, and then you watch the Star Wars show. Yeah, okay. And then you got this whiskey in your glass.
Yeah. You sit down to watch Ahsoka.
Don't get started. Right? Yeah, listen, I gotta tell you, Andrew, either you're a godsend or you had the easiest job selecting the best cast of the year. Like I'm a little like it's cheating. It's like you got a cheat code here, but I gotta tell you, man, this is maybe it's the third. So I'm a little warmed up. I have a 2. My palate's kind of is ready, and this is just like everything I'd want from a whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice. I mean, I was worried that, after so many months, we'd open up the box and go, not quite as good as I remembered it. But no, these
good.
Yeah.
Well,
yep.
I mean, that must be cool because you had that crazy experience of winning the trip to go over there out of the blue. And yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think these 3, okay, I'm going to make a bold claim and I don't want to get fired for this, but I think these 3 bottles you can just pick up and you're good for a long time. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in chat comment if this is not the case, but I feel like a lot of us have quite a few whiskeys, and I think now that we're just adding to the collection at this point. But man, if you're like starting out, then this is exactly where I'd point people as a starter.
It's a great range. It's a great 3-pack or that bundle for those for oily and coastal, deep, rich, and dried fruits, and peated. It's 3 great bottles from each of those 3 categories. Almost 3 bottles that are hard to beat, and almost whiskey of the year candidates. So yeah.
I have no problem putting my foot down and saying, like, I think this is definitely a top 3. Or no, well, the last one we just had 2 was probably, I think 2 of these are my top 10 of the year. We're coming up mid-September. Because the sherry one, the 14 years, we're all spoiled here. We can reach behind and grab some old whiskeys. If I want something old and really with a lot of depth, I don't think I would need to go like with an older whiskey. I think there was so much going on here. I think that's like, punching above its weight. So that is on a single bottle, sort of an analysis. I think there's so much there. That would be the winter whiskey, and that would be my Christmas whiskey holiday, Hanukkah whiskey, but for some of us. But this right here, this 53 it's like why I got into it, So
yeah, great palate.
Yeah,
rich, sweet.
Yeah. Well, if you guys need me to select more barrels,
it sounds like
my wife and I are available.
I haven't even got to do that yet, Andrew. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're all jealous of Andrew, but it sounds like your wife was really into it too, and you guys.
She really is. Yeah.
Well, you were telling me earlier, right before we went live, your daughter got you into this whole thing. Okay. Yeah. So really credit her. I think.
Yeah. She got me into this rabbit hole. She introduced me to, and not just whiskey in general, but Scotch whiskey specifically. That's her drink of choice, and she's a member of the society as well.
So has she been over to the vaults yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so what does she think about that?
She did about a couple of months ago. She was in London, and she did make it to the society's bar in London.
Oh, cool! At Greville Street.
Very much, yeah.
Is she the one? Huh? Is she the one that had twins?
No.
Okay, because I was going to say that would really be
his wife. Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to say that would really be something, but that's pretty special.
2 rounds of water, and this one's even getting better. This one's really, And Mamuka says, "Please never let me win that trip. My deep inside Willy Wonka is definitely going to come out."
Yeah.
Well, we should mention, if you haven't caught the word, we're doing it again. We are currently running a sweepstakes. Or when is that going live, Scott?
What's that?
When is that going live? That's already started, right? We announced that last Friday, I believe. We're doing the sweepstakes again.
That's a good question.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it right now. We should actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put drop a enter. We'll come back and we'll put a comment, or I'll update the description to include the link to enter. We plan on doing this an annual thing, but the point is, you know, anytime I'm asked or offered to enter a contest, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. There's so many people that enter. What am I going to bother? But here we have somebody.
Well, that was the funny part, because when I, as I said, I did when I got the call, I didn't even remember entering. And then as I thought back, I did remember. I saw the email from the society. I almost hit delete, and then I thought, I should probably just enter it.
I'm pulling up the email. Let's see. Okay. Well, anyway. What else we have going on? Anything else? Any closing remarks, thoughts? It sounds like, Andrew, you're happy with your choice.
I'm happy with my choice, and I was thrilled with the trip. I mean, we couldn't have been treated any better by the society. I mean, they put us up, they wined and dined us, and meeting everybody, meeting the people that we read about, in the on the podcast, on the the various things. It was an amazing experience, and Diane and I will always be appreciative.
Well, I want to thank you for doing a great job, and thanks to everybody obviously watching, all the members out there. It was funny hearing you talk about the fact that in the experience you went there, and there were delegates from all different countries around the world, but we had, as you mentioned, a pretty large allocation or options to choose from.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing in my head because I remember when I was a member, before I joined the company, but I was just a member, we had like the 5th, 6th, 7th rate. Yeah, we were really low. The U.S. was really low on the hierarchy of Casks allocation for the society in the world. And I remember thinking about that, and it's just amazing how we've grown. And so thank you, first of all, to all members for, we don't not really advertise or anything. We do some promotions here, but thank you for everybody for obviously referring friends and everything. Also, last shameless plug, I think I mentioned, if you want to order any of these bottles tomorrow, if you order a gift membership for a friend, bring someone into the club with you to share the experience, you'll get $100 electronic gift card. We're calling them gathering tokens to use towards your order. So gift membership's $99. It's kind of weird you actually gain $1. We just didn't want to. We just said whatever. $100 sounds good. Anyway, would really appreciate that. It means a lot to us. Allows us to keep doing things like this. I don't want to go on like sounding like a non-profit asking for money. That's not what we're about. But as a club for people who like whiskey, we're just grateful that you can help us grow the membership and do cool things like this. That's all I got. Scott,
I would add, if you're in the Tampa or in Florida, for starting in October, I'll be hosting the tastings there at Tampa coming up. So go to the website and register for the Tampa event.
That's right. Meet Scott in person. Oh, that'll
right.
be
you hosted the LA for a while. You hosted at least 2, I think.
Yep. Out at Tam O'Shanter's. Yeah, great place.
Yeah.
But I think that's where they're taking Pip Hills to his event is going to happen there at Tam O'Shanter's.
No, it's going to be up in San Francisco.
Is it? Oh, it's up north.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
NoCal. That's why Andrew said he's going up there.
Yeah.
Making a trip just to see Pip.
Yeah.
Pip loves America, man. I mean, I think I met him one time, and we were at a dinner, and kind of like what you had with all the delegates of different members from different countries that were chosen. We did people who work for the various companies. We were all we have this annual conference, and we're all sitting around there and talking. Delegates from China and Japan, like you said, and all the countries, Europe. And guys, chat. I know Europe's not a country, but countries in Europe, and we were just going around introducing ourselves. And once I mentioned I was from America, man, the next hour he just talked about the U.S. and how he loved San Francisco and New York, and so he's really happy about a lot of good stories, as you said. Last comment. Just being selfish. Can I add 2 bottles to my order that I did today? A lottering winning. Can I? Yeah. If you ordered something today, it was already shipped out. I don't know, Scott. We can.
Well, it depends on. At 5 o'clock they would have went over to the warehouse. It could be. It's probably too late if it was before 5 o'clock when you ordered Eastern time.
But we could always hold back, and like if you place the next order, we can delay the shipment too and wait for you to add to that one. So if you want these 2, you want to grab them before they sell out, you're welcome to. We'll try to accommodate as best we can. So anyway,
Yep. Well, Andrew, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. You had some great insight and just great notes and everything about the whole event itself. And
well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Not since the festivals this year have I enjoyed whiskeys this much. This has been really special.
Thank you.
So, all right, everyone. Cheers.
Yep. And remember, as it says on the back of every Scotch Malt Whiskey Society bottle, I don't know if it says it on these.
Oh, they do. Not for swinging, giggling, or knocking back. Please drink responsibly.
Well, we mustn't break the rule right now. Everybody break the rule. Plug it back. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.